The Unicorn Manatee. There was once a manatee who lived a quiet life among the marsh sea grasses. She was a good and obedient soul whose kind heart impressed all around her. She moved through her days with a slow pace, chatting with friendly marsh life and nibbling on delicate underwater plants. She could spend a whole afternoon chatting with a sea snail about the beautiful color shades of green and blue, or get lost in daydreams reflected in the bubbles around her. Though she did like the slower pace of her life, it had started to bore her. She had a secret yearning to know what it would be like to move fast. She sometimes dreamt of a water being, somewhat similar in looks to herself, plump and shy, but whose head was adorned with a very long and beautiful pearl horn. This creature lived in the dark and icy waters far away in a strange land and moved much faster through the water than she. The manatee was fascinated with what that sensation would feel like. She imagined being that mysterious creature and loved that empowered feeling of having the horn extending out in front of her as she swam through the ice-cold waters, fast, fast. It was like a beacon, transmitting a brilliant light and illuminating the darkness before her. The feeling of icy truth and clarity continued within her after she woke, so much so that she began to feel a certain kind of discomfort when going through her days. She felt warm and itchy. The manatee started to seek out cooler and darker waters in the marsh, places where her friends and family didn't frequent. These were very different from where her usual friends and family swam, but she loved it. Many creatures there were curious about her and how she came about to their particular corner of the water. She wistfully shared her vision of the twirled tusk that shone out light for all. She made new friends in the brackish waters, in particular a long-nosed garfish who would sometimes swim in front of her forehead and act like a horn. Her new friends gifted her with shells, and there was one shell that she loved. She asked the crabs to attach it and wrap it around her head with seaweed, and they happily did so. She felt electrified and beautiful, and indeed, the end of the shell seemed to glow with its own light. No matter how dark and cold the waters were, her shell light always led the way, comforted her, and warmed her from the inside out. One day there was a tremendous storm. Every sea creature took refuge any way that they could as the water whipped around them. It gained so much momentum that the water itself was ripped from below the surface and formed a waterspout in the air above. The manatee was swept up into the spout. The waters rushed around her. It was the fastest she had ever moved, and it shifted everything the young manatee believed could happen. She wasn't built to move at that speed, yet there she was, and her mind and heart opened completely. So much so that the powers that be granted the wish that they could plainly see within her heart. They transformed her into the first narwhal and transported her to new icy waters in which to play with new friends. Her horn glowed with profound love and light, and the unicorn manatee lived happily forevermore, always grateful that she followed her heart and stayed open to adventure.